records at Camp Nelson confirm Alexander came there as a slave. When he joined the Union Army, he listed his owner as William Beaumont. In another record, his enslaver is listed as Susan Beaumont. You knew that,
Yeah.
okay? That means he more than likely escaped his master or mistress to join the Union Army. Documents we uncovered tell us that there were William and Susan Beaumont, an elderly married couple who lived in Garrett County on a large farm. According to an 1860 slave schedule, William Beaumont owned 4 enslaved people: a 40-year-old woman, a 14-year-old girl, and 2 men, aged 23 and 20. Because Alexander Beaumont said he was 25 years old when he enlisted in 1864, he is likely the 20-year-old enslaved man listed in the 1860 slave schedule. He might have never had the chance to get to Camp Nelson but for a stroke of fate. In 1863, William Beaumont died without a will. This meant that his estate, including his slaves, was divided among his wife, children, and other heirs. And much of his personal property was sold at public auction. That auction would put Alexander and the other enslaved people living on the Beaumont farm in grave danger. Had they been sold, they could have been sent into the Deep South to work on cotton or sugar plantations. They would have very likely have been separated, as thousands of other family and friends were. But according to the estate inventory and subsequent auction records we were able to find, Alexander and the other slaves were not sold. Instead, they were hired out for a fee, with one slave going to the Beaumont's son, Herod, to work. Because his service record notes that he was owned by Susan Beaumont, we believe the widow retained ownership of Alexander after her husband died. It's also possible that being hired out gave Alexander a precious opportunity to escape. He likely would have lived at the Beaumont farm, working on a neighboring farm and traveling back and forth, and he would have a pass for travel, giving him some protection from local authorities and slave patrols. Well, now, what might have happened to the other Beaumont slaves? In addition to helping settle Alexander's status as a slave, the estate sale after William Beaumont's death is important because it gives a personalized view into the sadness and the tragedy of slavery, and it gives us a few precious scraps of information about the people who were owned by the Beaumont family. While census records simply list the age and the gender of the enslaved, the estate inventory provides the names and monetary value of the Beaumont family slaves. Okay, their hopes and their fears, their accomplishments, and their very faces, they've been lost to us, but we know this much. Well, census records show that George and Judah Beaumont lived together in the same household in the decades after the Civil War. They were mother and son. Okay, this family relationship also shows the potential horror that could have befallen them when their owner, William Beaumont, died. Had George been auctioned off and sold to the Deep South, for example, it's probable that Judah would have never seen her son again. Fortunately for this mother and son, they were not sold and separated. Instead, they remained together in the decades after the Civil War. We do know what happened to Alexander Beaumont after the Civil War, and we believe we can answer the question his descendants posed. As we've said, he was mustered out of the military in January 1867 after serving in Virginia and in Texas. After the Civil War, he moved to LaGrange, Kentucky, where he married Lucy Fibble in October of 1868. You know that.
Yeah.
Alexander and Lucy had 6 children, and you almost said their names before when we were talking. I'm going to repeat them. George.
Yes.
Jenny.
Yes.
Callie.
Yeah. Oh.
You said Katie, but we have record of Callie.
Okay.
Could be Katie.
Yeah.
John.
Yes.
Claude.
Yes.
And Charles.
Yes.
Those names are familiar to you. Now, we do not know just how Alexander Beaumont died. Although he has a military gravestone in the LaGrange Historical African American Cemetery, it does not include his birth and death dates, right? Yeah. But thanks to military pension records, we do know that he died sometime between 1880 and 1888, the year that his wife, Lucy, filed for a widow's pension. Okay? We could say that legally, Alexander Beaumont was freed on December 6, 1865, when the 13th Amendment was finally ratified and every former slave in the United States became legally free. But the truth is, Miss Ruby, his journey, Alexander Beaumont's, was one of self-liberation. Although it was a perilous undertaking, as we've heard, his desire for freedom overrode any fears that he may have had. Born in bondage, his agency, his bravery, his self-determination gave him control over his fate and his life. And when he made the journey to Camp Nelson, marching northward to put on the uniform of the United States, he freed himself. Now, we have shown you many images and documents today, but there is one last very special thing that we want to share with you.